What's up, guys? This is Jimmy, also known as Jumanji1776. I'm part of the Option Goats trading team, and this is your weekly recap. So first off, just want to introduce myself. I'm one of the mods, and I had a second straight green week for swing trading. We're trying out our new bot, which has been a lot of help. Not only seeing better technical analysis entries, but also to see a little bit more of option flows. So there were some trades I wanted to cover this past week, just because there were some trades that went really well, and then there were some trades that went bad. We stopped, we had stop losses, so we were okay. But I want to go over some of these trades with you just to show what we did this whole week, how we reflected. And then just a reminder, I don't hold any swing trades over the weekend currently. At least I don't like to, right? It's Saturday and Sunday. I don't want to think about something I have that might be expiring next week, right? So it's Saturday morning. It's sunny here in Salt Lake City. It's a good day this weekend. So let's dive right into it. So let's see here. So one of the first trades that we took was off of TIGR. Okay. Now this stock, so we entered it on 4/12, it looks like. So on this, let's see, 4/12 right here, this day, on this one right here, here we go. So we got option flow that came in on this day, right here, when it was low, right? So naturally looking at this chart, we're under the 50 simple moving average, right? So bears could be in control. This could also be a very good long entry. I thought it was a very good long entry, right? The next, throughout the after hours and in through the pre, I had three of the, let's see here. I had three of the 4/16, which was next week's at the time, or excuse me, those were weeklies on Monday though. So we still had 5 days. It wasn't so bad. Each of them were 30 bucks, right? I was willing to spend 90 bucks, right? So risk-wise, it was high because it was a weekly, but at the same time, it was only $90, right? So you're not spending, $300 or $400 on a call. But if this thing were to take off like it did sometimes, like for instance, right here, where it jumped from 1850 to 21, that's what I was looking for, right? So instead, we got into here and we got stop loss right here. Down here, they were basically worthless, right? On the next day, on a Tuesday, and they're now $4 away from being in the money. Now, if we keep going, it stayed under that 50 SMA and it popped on, it looks like on Wednesday, right? And by this time, those options were, even this pump probably you still would have been down had I held, right? So that was a good risk management scenario that we had right there. It was 90 bucks. I think we got out 60, right? We lost 10 bucks each. It was a $30 loss, so it wasn't so bad, right? So let's keep going. We grabbed DKNG calls on the 12th also, so on Monday. Let's go through these. On the 12th, we bought them on this day. Now, this was an interesting trade. I actually got out of this at break even, but there was some, DraftKings was a very, a lot of people had eyes on DraftKings this past week, especially after they got the contract with the NFL as well as FanDuel. But this was a day where it hit the 50 SMA and it completely just broke down, right? It came back down. This is where we entered, right here. This is where we entered for a long entry. I saw that it was so far from the 50 SMA. If we go back in time, look how far it got here. Yeah, okay, excuse me, sorry. Got far here, popped up. Probably wouldn't have been good at open here. Enter, that would have been good at entry, or excuse me, at exit here in the open. Down, this would have been money, 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 money. Had we entered right here. So let's go back to the actual trade. This is where I saw it. We got out here and we dipped as low as 56.87. That's a new low for DKNG for the past 20 sessions. That passed this low and it usually rebounds. But if we go back a little bit more, it had dropped lows before, right? Low, low, this bearish trend. That's what I was starting to see with this when it started going down. The volume still picked up in the morning. And you know what? We hit our stop loss here at about break. So I used about a $50 stop loss, but once it started showing this sign of weakness and it was starting to go lower, I exited. And I came out at DKNG, ended up taking off for the rest of the day, and this would have been profit. But this was a good trade to reflect on. This is a good example of, see how it totally now bounces on this 57 line. This would have been an entry. Monday might even be an entry for DKNG too, unless it decides that it wants to do another another breakdown from the 50 SMA. So I'm definitely watching DraftKings on Monday. Alrighty, so what we had after DKNG, I was looking at GSX. Let's see if we get, where was my entry? Peloton, here we go. So this was Peloton on, oh, this must have been on the 13th. Okay, so let's look at this. So this was on the 13th. This was here, right? So we entered our short entry, right? Let me zoom out for a second here. This line, major level, 124.50-ish. And then right here, a really nice support to have is 117. And yesterday actually broke through that. And after hours went down as 114. So let's talk about Peloton for a second here, because this was, we hit 2 trades this week and the week before really well on Peloton. And this was a, Peloton has just been very predictable at this 124.50 level. And even playing it safe, we were able to come out with you know, a couple $100. So we entered on, let's see here, make sure I pull it up. So we entered on 413, which was right here. So we entered not at the dip here, it hit its head here. So it confirmed that it rejected on that, right? And in the next morning, well, hold on a second. We entered here, right? Peloton went up in after hours, not good. It's even higher in pre. That's even worse, right? Now, right at open, our scalpers had an idea that if it hits this level, it'd be a good scalp. I was watching it for a scalp too. In case it went the other way, I'd be able to hedge my swing. If it took off and it broke this level, that probably would have been the stop loss for the swing and an entry for a scalp. Right here, instead, at open, it broke down. Not only break down through the 50 SMA, of which it's been entangling itself in for the past 20 sessions. Okay, it goes down, right? We had entered up here. We got out with nice profit. Boom. It continues to go down. If you had held those, not to say FOMO or anything like that, but it went down like another $10. So that's a trade. Those 120 puts would be almost $6 in the money. But that's the power of the 50 SMA and these major levels on Peloton. Peloton right now is my #1 watch. Peloton is, I mean, it's these flushes where it happens. It hits a level, look, hits, if we go back, hits this level 1, 2, almost 3, 4, 5 times, and it flushes downwards. And these downward movements, I mean, you can make some money off these. I mean, if you had a 114 put here and you just held it for the day, you'd end up at, that's a $13 move on Peloton. Peloton moves big too. And the options aren't priced like as if it was like Roku or Tesla. That's the nice thing, right? Next week's expiration will, you know, cost you $300 or $400, maybe 500, but you get a $5 or $6 move without it having to move so big in the mornings for it to worry you. It doesn't do that unless it's going down, in which case, if I was looking at Peloton, I'd be playing puts. So anyways, that was a good trade that we had. Mara, let's go over Mara for a second. That was a good life lesson. Mara was definition sell the news event. On this day, coin was IPOing at some point in the morning. The days leading, it was intraday would be down here. Pre would come up, intra come down. Pre and after hours come up and then come down. I was playing specifically that pattern. That's it. Some stocks just do that. And they stay in the same level And traders ask themselves, how can I make money off that? Well, it keeps gapping up. So is it going to gap up the next time? Let's hope so. So we get into Mara on this day, right? The day before the coin IPO. We only got one call, right? Or excuse me, one call right here. This was right at the dip, right before close. So it was actually somewhere in the middle of this green candle right here. We entered it here. It was up $3 or $4 in pre and aftermarket, right? At open, it came down to the level that we were at and then shot down to my stop loss, which was 60 bucks on this trade. Okay, we stop lossed here, we got out, and we probably missed a good $300 loss here, right? Stop losses are your friend, especially on swings. Only on swings, I'm thinking stop losses for right now. Scalpers have their own thing. Long-term trading has their own thing. When it comes to swing, you want a stop loss because you don't know if the next day, let's say if we were looking at this trade and let's say we held it, right? And we just said, coin's out, right? It's going to go back up, right? We just keep telling ourselves that. What happened the next day? It just went lower. Now that puts even, now that call's worth even less on that day. So that was a good risk management life lesson. All right, so GSX, we played a put swing on GSX. Excuse me. Saw the flow. Let's zoom out on GSX real quick. They had an ER here, dove down, and they just kept dwindling, right? So the danger of playing a stock like this is that since it dwindles and it comes down, you have no idea when it's going to pop back up, right? You could keep dwindling down. This ER was atrocious. It was pretty bad, right? This company, if I had to guess, is going to go down to $10, right? So one of the things that I saw going back to when it was dwindling is we had this pop, right? Goes up to 35, then it comes down to 27, right? Let's fast forward a bit. Here it is at 27, coming down, coming down, coming down, coming down, coming down, coming down. Here's a pop over the 50 SMA. Now, fundamentally, this is not a good stock, right? Who's going to keep buying it after that, right? The last time it popped, it stayed at that level and came down. So we entered a put, not at the top here. It was probably like in the middle here, right? Somewhere in the middle here. We bought an at the money put, which was the 26 put. And then it came down, we were in profits. It started leveling off here to the point I said, I'm going to grab another short. So what I did is I grabbed another put, a 25 put, right? Now the 25 level is down here, right? So we're holding two puts for the 23rd, which was next week, and in after hours and pre, it gapped up, right? So one of two things was going to happen here, right? Is it going to pop again like the day before, or is it going to break down like it has been, right? So in pre, it popped up. The first couple hours came down. We're in the money on the 26 put. We had the new low, all-time low was this level right here, right? So we dropped the first put that we bought up here for profit. And then the next put that we had that was 25, when it was in the money down here, we got out of the profit there too. So GSX was a good trade. Let's see. That was a good trade. We played a lot of puts this week, which was good. See, I was watching Billy here. Here we go. So I was watching Billy. We grabbed the 102 put on the 14th. So let's see here on the 14th here. So option flow for Billy came out about in the middle of the day. And this probably would have been a really good entry when it was in the middle of the day because it was less expensive. But here's what I was thinking. I waited till towards the end of the day to see what it would do to this 102, 103 level down here. If it was going to start bouncing, I could totally see it come up and then just melt straight down because that's basically what it did for the past 10 or 15 sessions down here, right? Bounce, 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 hold, and then comes down. So we entered it here. In pre-market, popped up a bit, right? And then came back down and we were able to come out in profits. Billy was a weird one. This is a weird stock, right? So like, you know, stocks like Billy, Baba, Baidu, JD, you know, since Baba had that fine that that relieved its stress, apparently, right? Looking at the stock, can't really explain anything else. If we look at Baidu, if we look at Billy, if we look at, I haven't even looked at JD, it looks the same, right? Coming down. What's another Chinese company that's doing the same thing? Anyways, all these Chinese companies are descending down. So, and a lot of tech like Peloton are coming down as well. So Billy, JD, Baba, Billy's I really like Billy just because this stock moves big, kind of like Peloton. And again, without the option prices being absolutely crazy. But what we're going to be looking for here is it has broken down below this 102, 103 level. And look, if we go back, it flushes pretty fast on that level. It flushes pretty fast on that level, right? If we go back a little bit more, again, flushes down that level. That's a 103 to 95 move that we could catch on the hourly. That's a pretty safe trade right there. So it's starting, it came up above, crossed above the 50 SMA, came about here. Now that Baba's relieved, I'm really liking Billy puts here. I'm thinking the next time it pumps up, same as like Peloton, that might be a really good trade, right? Peloton's back at this level where it bounces. If it bounces back up to 117, that'd be another good short entry. Alrighty, so let's look at Billy. So Billy was a good trade. Korn had DKNG. He got that call the day they announced that NFL and FanDuel came out, the same day, same exact day. INTC, this was the last trade. This one we got out with just, it was 25 bucks profit. I think I held it for, oh, I don't know. I think I held it for exactly 24 hours. I held it a whole half intraday one day and then the next day. So let's look at Intel. So everybody knows chip makers, semis, shortage, right? So we're looking at Intel, right? This is a small mover, FYI, like Cisco, AMD, doesn't move big. But we got a big move this day that we got huge option flow for put sweeps, bought put sweeps, right? So this day it was getting absolutely, I mean, it was just crushing it, right? It blasted through the 50 SMA and then stayed above the 50 SMA, right? We entered a put, let's see, so it broke down here, pushed up. So we entered a put right here. You know what? It was like more in the middle here, okay? This is how crazy fate is. I grabbed next week's. No. I think I grabbed the week after that. Yeah, I grabbed the 30th. So I didn't grab next week's. I grabbed the week after that. So I still had, when I was in this trade, I still had about two weeks and 3 days, right? So about 17 days worth of time. And we entered it about here at the 65 level, which was a major level here for Intel. It popped up as high as 66 up here. And I was telling myself that if it hits the 66 level and breaks through it, I would have to cut the trade, especially if it gets the same type of volume that I got here, which it was starting to look like in the morning. The rest of the day, it just kind of broke down. Now it slowly moved down, painfully slowly, down here. And then towards the end of the day, it broke down again. This is where we exited. And that's where we came out with a $24 loss. So going back to it, what could have we had done differently? We could have, instead of, let's say we already entered these puts, instead of just watching it lose money here, at the top here, selling call credit spreads, selling call spreads up here would probably have been the move, right? Because you get the volatility in the morning, it would have broken down from 66 all the way to 64.5, and you probably would have been able to get out with 30% profit. Especially with slow movers like this, you want theta to be on your side. So next time we look at AMD, Cisco, and Intel, we'll be looking at credit spreads instead, just because, like I said, we want theta to be on our side. So we had, okay, so Intel, Peloton. So Intel was a red trade, Peloton was a green trade, Billy was a green trade, And then we had, let's see, GSX was a green trade. So we got 3 green, 1 red. Mara was a red trade. So we got 3-2. We had, we already saw Peloton. DKNG was red. So we're 3 for 3. TIGR was a bit red, so we're 3 for 4 on this week. But here's the thing, though. Mara, we got a stop loss, so we're 3 for 5. Let's make sure we go back more. I think that was it. No, that can't be right. Let's do this. Let's use the channel. Here we go. So 412. Let's start. Okay, so we had TIGR, which was red. We had a DKNG that was red. We had a Peloton, excuse me. We had a Peloton put, that was green. Mara was red. But these stop losses, though, were 40 or 50 bucks, right? Those do add up, don't get me wrong. But our risk to reward ratio, which is 2 to 1, we'd be risking enough to double it, right? So on those Peloton, GSX was a good trade. Billy was a good trade. INTC, we basically got out at break even. So I'm going to call that a good trade right there too. Some of these we got at break even. So if we think about it for a second, we had 3 winners, 2 break evens, and we got 2 losers. So we're still green for the week, especially since those 3 green trades made us 100, 150 a pop. And as far as the reds, there was only 2 that we got stop loss that were 50, and then we had 1 break even that was 25. The rest were green. So we were green for the week and the week before. So going into next week, we're also getting our feet wet using this bot. We really look forward to do more swing trading within the group. If you have any questions, feel free to message me. Like I said, my name is Jumanji1776. Just call me Jimmy. Make sure to hit that Option Goats watercolor button down here. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and we look forward to next week's recap. Thank you so much, and have a great day.